In a quiet, upscale neighborhood on the outskirts of Boston, maple leaves were gently falling in a yard enclosed by white picket fences. Melissa Brown found solace in this view every time she returned from her laboratory. Her blonde hair, which fell just below her shoulders, swayed in the autumn breeze. The setting sun cast a gentle light in her green eyes. "I'm home," she called out. James's voice responded from the kitchen. "Welcome home, Melissa. I'm making bolognese today. Your favorite, isn't it?" They lived in a colonial-style house in this exclusive neighborhood. 6 years had passed since they moved in together. Melissa, who worked in research and development at the prestigious New England Pharmaceuticals, and James, a sales director, were considered the ideal couple, drawing envious glances from those around them. Melissa was making her mark as a researcher. She had achieved groundbreaking results in a new cancer drug development project that could revolutionize conventional treatments. Meanwhile, James, with his refined appearance and gentlemanly demeanor, consistently led in sales performance. When people mentioned the Browns, everyone recognized them as the company's power couple. James, Melissa nestled against her husband's back. "I got the test results today." James's expression tensed momentarily. 3 years ago, they had experienced the trial of a miscarriage. After countless hospital visits and consultations with specialists, they had finally decided to try again for a baby. The baby's doing well. 4 months along now. And it's a girl. James embraced his wife. "Really? Finally, our baby. I want to name her April. Because she'll be born in spring. And it symbolizes the beginning of our new season together. That's a beautiful name. So like you to choose something meaningful." In the weeks that followed, James was a devoted husband. Every morning, he prepared homemade smoothies with a special recipe using organic fruits and yogurt. On weekends, he always took her for drives, playing Melissa's beloved classical music while they enjoyed nature in the suburbs. Having lunch at restaurants along the Charles River had become their cherished routine. Melissa felt happier than ever before. At the lab, she was immersed in developing a groundbreaking cancer drug, and at home, she could feel the growth of new life within her. During quiet mornings, talking to April, though yet unseen, had become part of her daily routine. She believed this happiness would last forever. However, small signs of discord began to emerge during this time. Late-night returns home increased, as did sudden weekend outings. Emergency meetings, important business negotiations, such excuses came with increasingly frequent business trips. And then there was Caitlin Morrison. The new sales employee who had joined 6 months ago possessed model-like beauty and was James's direct subordinate. Their frequent business trips together. The intimate conversations at work. That oddly embarrassed expression when they passed each other in the hallway. "He's just busy with work," Melissa told herself, desperately suppressing the urge to check her husband's phone. "I'm just being paranoid. My hormones must be affecting me because of the pregnancy. This isn't right." 2 days before their 6th wedding anniversary, James returned home early for once and suggested a weekend foliage drive. Let's go to our special place. I've made dinner reservations at the restaurant where I proposed. New England is beautiful this time of year. Melissa's face showed relief. I guess my worries were unfounded after all. James hasn't changed. We're going to be a happy family. That night, Melissa fell into a peaceful sleep for the first time in a while. She made a silent promise to work hard at her research tomorrow, for her unborn child and their happy family. One morning, the New England sky was crystal clear. A fresh breeze from the Charles River gently caressed Melissa's cheeks. I made this smoothie with a special recipe today. James handed Melissa a crystal glass. The pale pink liquid sparkled in the morning sun. She noticed the intricate design on the rim. It was from their wedding gift set. Strawberries, berries, and organic yogurt. For you and April's health. I picked out the best ingredients from Whole Foods. The breakfast table held warm bagels and scrambled eggs. The aroma of tomatoes and basil stimulated her appetite. Melissa savored the happiness of this loving breakfast. James must have started preparing early this morning for this day. Let's take the new car. In the garage waited the luxury SUV delivered just last week. Its pearl-white body gleamed. Inside the cabin, with its fresh leather scent, Chopin's Nocturne began to play, Melissa's favorite. This song brings back memories. It's the song that was playing when I proposed to you. Remember? I specially requested it from the restaurant's pianist that night. Both their expressions were peaceful as they shared the memory. However, Melissa failed to notice the calculated coldness lurking in James's eyes. Those eyes were like those of a predator that had already marked its prey. They drove west on Massachusetts Route 2. The car moved quietly through scenery lined with colorful trees. Maple and oak leaves had turned deep red and golden, burning like flames. Here and there, tourists' cars were parked on the shoulder, their occupants enjoying photographing the fall foliage. Families with cameras passed by the car windows, their smiling faces a blur. I'm getting a bit sleepy. After taking a coffee break in a small town, Melissa's consciousness began to grow hazy. Her limbs felt heavy, and her eyelids were getting harder to keep open. Is it okay if I close my eyes for a bit? Go ahead and rest. We still have time before reaching our destination. James's voice seemed to fade into the distance. As her consciousness dimmed, she thought she heard her phone vibrate several times. When she became aware again, the car was driving along a deserted mountain road. The trees growing thick on both sides cast ominous shadows. Her vision was blurry, and her body wouldn't move as she wanted. James's expression in the rearview mirror looked different from before. He drove in silence, occasionally checking the mirror while sending messages to someone on his phone. His fingertips seemed to tremble with what looked like impatience. This is the best viewpoint. The observation deck, which should have been crowded with tourists, was empty. In the deepening autumn twilight, fog rising from the valley created an eerie atmosphere. The view is beautiful. Let's look at it. We can take commemorative photos too. Melissa's steps were unsteady. Her vision grew increasingly blurry. Her body felt drained of strength, as if she were dragging blocks of lead. James, I don't feel, something's wrong. Suddenly, a strong impact struck her from behind. Melissa's body, losing balance, floated over the observation deck's railing. In that instant, what she saw was a sea of autumn leaves far below. And her husband's icy smile. As she tumbled down the slope, sharp pain shot through her abdomen. Rocks and branches struck her body. April, I'm sorry. Crying out in her heart, Melissa began to lose consciousness. In her fading awareness, the last thing she saw was a black BMW arriving at the observation deck. The passenger door opened with a subtle engine sound. Caitlin stepped out. Wrapped in a cashmere coat, she looked as elegant as if she had stepped out of a fashion magazine. The voices of the embracing couple reached her ears faintly. Everything's going according to plan. Her life ends here. The beginning of our new life together. I can hardly wait. With both the insurance money and her research data, we'll be millionaires. Melissa's belongings were taken one by one. Her mobile phone. Her designer wallet. And the wedding ring that was supposed to be the symbol of their vows. All evidence was being perfectly eliminated by the two of them. Must protect the baby. That was her last conscious thought. Left in a place where no one would notice, Melissa's body gradually grew cold. The weather changed suddenly, the temperature dropped further, and heavy rain began to fall. From the sky thick with dark clouds, ice-cold raindrops fell mercilessly. What remained at the observation deck were two sets of footprints and marks where gravel had been dragged. And the evidence of her husband's brutal betrayal that had attempted to take Melissa's life. Soon, even these traces would be washed away by the rain. The smell of antiseptic. The regular beeping of monitors. As consciousness returned, she began to feel a dull pain enveloping her entire body. Take your time, came the voice of a female doctor in a white coat, approaching from what seemed far away. You're in the emergency ward at Brigham and Women's Hospital. You were brought in by ambulance 3 days ago. Memories returned in fragments. The autumn leaves. The observation deck. And then. April. My baby. The doctor's expression darkened at the sudden cry. I'm so sorry. The weight of those words crushed Melissa's entire being. We confirmed the death of the fetus. Due to severe trauma. The words that followed no longer reached her ears. As deep sorrow washed over her, the nurse quietly continued explaining. How a hiking couple had found her. How she had been rushed to the emergency room in severe dehydration and hypothermia. How she had miraculously survived from a critical condition. The police would like to speak with you. A man introducing himself as Detective Thompson entered the room. He was a middle-aged man with a warm voice. However, his gaze held a sharp light. Mrs. Brown, your husband hasn't filed a missing person report. Melissa's eyes widened at those words. even though it's been 3 days since the accident. Memories flooded back all at once. The impact from behind. The fall. And that conversation. They tried to kill me. Melissa's voice trembled. My husband. The blood test results brought by the nurse confirmed her certainty. We detected powerful sleeping medication, far exceeding normal dosage levels. The morning smoothie. The special recipe. It had all been planned. Detective Thompson quietly continued taking notes. No surveillance cameras. No witnesses. Little physical evidence. A perfect attempted murder. But the perpetrators had miscalculated one thing: the strength of the victim's will to live. Mrs. Brown, we've received some concerning information from your colleagues. The documents the detective presented revealed shocking facts. James and Caitlin had submitted their resignations the day before the incident. Plans for establishing a new company were discovered. And there were signs that parts of Melissa's research data had already been taken. The life insurance matter is also concerning. The detective pulled out new documentation. A high-value life insurance policy was taken out on you 2 weeks before the accident. The beneficiary had even been changed. My research. Melissa's hands trembled as she reviewed the documents. The new drug development was in its final stages. The patent income alone was said to be worth tens of billions of yen if successful. The autumn sunset streamed through the hospital room window. The orange light looked as if it were stained with blood. While preparing a new foredrip, the nurse shared more information. The police mentioned that they're trying to leave the country. Apparently, they had booked flights to an island in the Caribbean. Melissa quietly closed her eyes. Waves of sorrow, anger, and determination washed over her. This isn't over. Her voice was weak but filled with strong resolve. I will bring them to justice. Legal justice, social justice, they will face it all. April. She wrapped her arms around her abdomen. Mama will show you justice. Your life won't be in vain. That night, Melissa began preparing for discharge. First, she needed to find a trustworthy lawyer. The research data backups also needed to be verified. And contact with supportive colleagues. The police investigation continued. However, Melissa already knew. She was the only one who could uncover the truth of this case and realize justice. Outside the hospital room window, an autumn leaf danced in the wind. It seemed to herald the beginning of a new battle. Detective Thompson's final words were, "Ma'am, you have 2 choices. End your life as just a victim, or become a warrior pursuing the truth." A strong light of determination shone in Melissa's eyes. I've already made my choice. She had already taken her first step toward becoming a warrior of justice called revenge. It would be a long battle. But there was no turning back. With April's unfulfilled life in her heart, Melissa's new life was about to begin. Caitlin Morrison, real name Catherine Murphy. Previous fraud convictions. Changed her name 3 times in the past 5 years. A thick file lay before Melissa. Across the desk, Private Investigator Sarah Collins continued her explanation. The woman in the gray suit was a professional information gatherer. Your husband wasn't her first. Photos were laid out one by one. Pictures with wealthy middle-aged men. Secret meetings at luxury hotels. And a stack of bankruptcy declarations. She approaches wealthy men using her beauty as a weapon. Builds relationships as a mistress, steals company secrets and assets, then disappears. That's her method. Melissa saw her reflection in the rain-spattered window. 1 month since leaving the hospital. New determination colored her gaunt cheeks. What about my husband? James Brown. His public record is perfect. However, Sarah opened a new file. There's evidence he was involved in insider trading in the pharmaceutical industry. Buying large amounts of venture company stocks before drug approvals. Selling after approval for profit. His methods became increasingly bold over the past few years. The office shelves displayed 24-hour surveillance footage. A Caribbean resort hotel. The two of them caught on security cameras. Living luxuriously in an expensive suite. But behind their smiles, anxiety was visible. Their new company, what's its status? Established through multiple paper companies registered in Bermuda. They're trying to start dealings with Asian pharmaceutical companies using your research data. The computer on the desk displayed a diagram showing complex money flows. However, there's a fatal weakness here. Melissa continued taking notes silently. The meticulous analytical skills she had cultivated as a researcher were now weapons for revenge. Your research data, we found it's been falsified. The USB drive Sarah handed over contained shocking evidence. They've altered safety data to rush approval applications. This is a serious violation. Are we ready to report to the FDA? Yes. We can also provide information to the SEC simultaneously. The insurance company. They already have evidence of fraud. Their plan will completely collapse. Just then, Melissa's smartphone vibrated. A message from a colleague. They seem to be conducting the deal with the Japanese pharmaceutical company tomorrow. The rain grew heavier. Melissa stood and walked to the window. Boston's cityscape was shrouded in a veil of rain. All preparations are complete. Detective Thompson entered the conference room. Time had etched deep determination into his expression as well. FDA and SEC investigators, and our arrest team are all in position. Melissa sighed deeply. The past month had been like a nightmare. But tomorrow, it would all end. Thank you all for your cooperation. When Melissa turned around, there was no more hesitation in her expression. Let's end this tomorrow. The next morning, James and Caitlin waited for their Japanese business partners in the VIP lounge at Boston International Airport. This will make us rich. Caitlin sipped champagne. Dressed in an expensive dress, she seemed certain of victory. With that woman's data, the rest is easy. But falsifying the safety data was dangerous. A moment of anxiety crossed James's expression. It's fine. No one will notice. She's as good as dead anyway. At that moment, a joint team of airport police and FBI agents stormed into the lounge. Melissa slowly entered the lounge. Long time no see, James. And Caitlin too. The color drained from their faces. You're alive. Caitlin's scream echoed through the lounge. The day you tried to kill me, you made a fatal mistake. Melissa's voice was quiet but filled with strong resolve. You underestimated my will to live. And you forgot that truth always comes to light. FBI agents handcuffed James. I'll tell everything. Let's make a deal. Caitlin's voice trembled. Betrayal remains betrayal until the end. Too late. Melissa approached Caitlin and whispered. The research data you stole was a dummy. The real data is in a safe place. All the falsified safety data has been preserved as evidence. Reporters' flashes went off. Tomorrow's headlines were being born here. Detective Thompson approached. Brilliant. You gathered perfect evidence. Melissa smiled quietly. This isn't revenge. This is the realization of justice. The morning sun streamed through the airport's large windows. The beginning of a new day. Melissa looked up at the sky. April, Mama kept her promise. The two were escorted to police vehicles. As the media swarmed, Melissa slowly walked away. Everything was over now. No, it had reached a new beginning. That evening's breaking news. Major fraud scandal rocks pharmaceutical industry. Former executives arrested. Shocking details revealed, from attempted murder to research data theft. Melissa watched the news in a hospital room. Former colleagues had gathered to discuss resuming research. From now on, as the April Foundation, let's continue research to save more lives. 1 year later in Boston. In a new research facility along the Charles River, Melissa gazed out the window. A year had passed since the establishment of the April Foundation. The fall foliage season had come around again. Dr. Brown, here are the clinical trial results for the new drug. A young researcher presented the report. Melissa accepted it with a smile, a gentle expression she couldn't have imagined having before. Thank you. This will help us save more patients. On her desk sat a picture of April, the shape of a tiny life in an ultrasound image. Touching it each morning had become Melissa's ritual. Mom, I'm here. In your research, in the lives being saved. She felt as if she could hear such a voice. Melissa vividly remembered that day in court. The defendant James Brown is hereby sentenced to 25 years imprisonment for attempted murder, insurance fraud, and theft of corporate secrets. The defendant Caitlin Morrison, taking into account her plea bargain, is sentenced to 12 years imprisonment. After the sentencing, James looked back at Melissa once. His eyes showed regret. But it was too late. In prison, James had completely lost his former dignity. Shunned by other inmates, he spent lonely days in solitary confinement. His once robust health deteriorated significantly from mental stress. Caitlin, on the other hand, revealed everything in her plea bargain. The full extent of their plan, her past fraud methods, everything. However, it brought her no salvation. After her release, no one would trust her again. Melissa took a letter from her desk drawer. A letter to April. She continued writing one every month. To my beloved daughter. Today, many patients gain new hope. Your existence continues to be the driving force behind this research. That day, I swore revenge. But now I understand. What's important isn't revenge, but demonstrating justice. And building hope beyond that. Mama is walking a new path now. I'm sure there's a wonderful future ahead on this path. I know you're watching over me. Outside the window, a young cherry tree planted in the research facility's garden swayed in the autumn wind. Next spring, it would surely bloom beautifully. Dr. Brown, Dr. Michael is here to see you. The secretary called out. Dr. Michael Anderson, an oncologist. They had worked closely together on research projects over the past year. His gentle gaze and sincere personality had gradually helped heal Melissa's emotional wounds. Please come in. Michael entered with a warm smile. I wanted to discuss Saturday's lecture. And afterward, if you'd like, perhaps dinner. Melissa thought for a moment, then smiled. Yes, I'd love to. Life holds unexpected encounters. Sometimes, new light can shine into a wounded heart. In the facility's hallway hung the April Foundation's philosophy, life has value. We exist to protect that value. It wasn't just a slogan. It was a promise to a precious life lost and hope for a new future. At dusk, Melissa stood on the research facility's roof. The setting sun over the Charles River painted the city golden. April, watch over me. Mama will continue walking the right path. With the true strength and kindness you taught me in my heart. The autumn wind gently caressed Melissa's hair. It was a warm breeze, as if offering encouragement from a small life. April was certainly here. In the lives being saved, in the light of hope, and above all, in Melissa's heart. Forever.